England have won 8 of their last 9, but if we use the boxing analogy, they are winning on jabs and points. They're not throwing any knockout blows at the moment, and they haven't really done that, probably, if we're honest, since the semi-final of 2019.
England at the moment need performances rather than win. If you win playing limited rugby, then you're never getting better.
Where is this Scotland side right now?
Scotland are great now, very, very good players. They've got one of the best fly halves, if not the best fly half in the world attacking. If Finn Russell runs across and does a switch with somebody coming back the other way, as an outside, I would step in and end him.
If England beat them, then the media pressure on them will swing.
Yeah.
Hello, Dream Team. Welcome along to this week's episode of The Good, The Bad and the Rugby in partnership with our very good friends at Continental Tires. Hask is here.
Hello. I feel like I'm clashing. There's a lot of colours going on, a lot of stripes.
Mike Tyndall joins us
Hello.
live
Hello.
via Zoom.
Hello.
Great to have you
how
with
you
us.
Get
doing?
off your phone, Michael.
I know.
Get off your phone, Michael.
That's what I heard a lot.
Yeah.
Just to
Do you
let
want to
everyone know,
explain?
Yeah.
when we do things, I write notes on my phone, and what I didn't realise is that Tom had gone for the wide aspect. So while someone's talking, I do look at things like teams, stats, and bits
Instagram,
and
cats,
pieces. Yeah.
all the stuff that you have to
WhatsApp.
look at.
So yes,
WhatsApp.
apologies if everyone
Insta.
thought I was being rude on the pod. So this week, by the way, I wrote everything
Yeah.
down.
Look at that. You've
So-
gone pad and paper.
And this week's
just so that no one gets confused.
all
by
my
that.
We have done your trip to Reykjavik and your busy week on this week's lock-in. If you want to go and have a listen to that.
we don't
That's-
really
it's a
promote
ve-
that on the main show.
No,
That
It's a
lock-in
very,
going
very
quite
large
well, the
canter
lock-in.
around the course.
Yeah.
The course was very big today.
Yeah.
There's a wide
Lot of
breadth of
hurdles.
subject
It
matters
was
we
more of the
covered.
Grand National of a canter.
Yeah. We had a great show last week, didn't we?
We
To
did.
two flipping Scottish legends.
I actually
Gary
really enjoyed
Armstrong.
that. Craig Chalmers.
Craig Chalmers.
Yeah.
Do love Chick.
Chick's
Great
good
man,
man.
isn't he?
Yeah,
Poor bloke with the old
Chick's-
prostate cancer, who knew, but
Yeah.
fair play, brave face on it.
Yeah.
We're
I
going
love
to do a few more of those, actually. We've had some very good suggestions on rugby's greatest unions, other
Does a
partnerships
Haskell
within the
crazy
game.
off-field activities.
Yeah, I think that's a lock-in
Yeah.
show, that,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh.
For the 3 people
All right,
that subscribe to that. What was very nice about last week is that we did genuinely celebrate not just a great era for Scottish rugby, 1990. They went pretty well in 91. But we spoke a lot about the Calcutta Cup, what it means to Scotland, etc. And I think possibly we've done our bit in that regard. We're often very accused of being a very sort of Anglo-centric show, but we did a very Scottish-based show last week. This week, we're going to sharpen the sword a little bit because it is Calcutta Cup time. And just before we focus on that specifically, it's actually a big week for the home nations in general. We've got Scotland and England, as we've said, Ireland against Wales in Dublin. So some of the questions to touch on: how does Scotland find consistency? How do England find another level? Are Ireland ambling to the slam? And can Wales' young guns make themselves famous with a win? Do you see what I've done there?
Yes.
Young guns too. You-hoo. I'll make
Yes.
you famous.
Yes.
Can we just start with an overview of England as we sit here right now? Because there's a funny something in the water.
Well, why don't you start? Because you, as having watched the game with you backstage with England versus Wales in that giant chasm of a room in the live room, you were very shouty at the screen, very emotional. You want to get some stuff off your chest.
This is the current situation with this England team, is actually they are digging out wins. And Christ, that is better than falling to losses. And you look at Scotland, who bloody nearly blew a 27-point lead. They then did blow a lead against France. And England are sitting here, having won 8 of their
But
last
Scotland
9.
still won the game.
Not against France, they didn't.
Well, they did, but the TMO fucked them.
Well, but
They won
it was
the
out
game.
of their control.
Yeah, but
They should have won the game before the TMO was a factor.
But they won the game.
Okay, but they didn't because in the
But
scoreboard.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
everyone else's belief, they did.
Yeah.
but this is my
That doesn't count.
okay.
Yes,
we can squabble
yeah.
about whether they did or didn't.
Yeah, I know.
In the record books,
I know.
they
Don't
lost
mind
the
them.
game to
I
France.
know what you say.
England have won 8 of their last 9. They haven't beat anyone in the top 6, and we did touch on a bit of this last week. They've only won 1 of the last 6 Calcutta Cups. They are a team at the moment that is setting themselves challenges by going down in Italy and then by going down at home to Wales. They're digging themselves out of it. But if we use the boxing analogy, they are winning on jabs and points. They're not throwing any knockout blows at the moment. And they haven't really done that, probably, if we're honest, since the semi-final of 2019. Can you think of a statement performance from England in the last 4 years? A performance where you have sat up and gone, wow. They
No.
pulled themselves back into a series in Australia, but it wasn't great rugby. They've knocked out the occasion. Funny enough, the best performance I think England have had, ironically, was against Ireland 2 years ago when Charlie Ewels was sent off inside 60 seconds. That
Yeah,
was a day when Twickenham was febrile and it was excited, and it was because they were up against it from the off.
Well, it looked like it could have been that way, in the Grand Slam game in Ireland last year, but
but then they got a red card.
Ruined
Yeah.
it.
But we are picking up bits and bobs here.
But that's what we said beforehand. Is the saving grace for England this far, I think, are the individuals that have come in that are actually showing. Your Tommy Freeman's, obviously Ben Earl's been back in since the World Cup, but he's in there. I think Underhill coming back. Slade has actually had the best 2 games that he's had in terms of touching the ball and actually being involved in the game. I think the bench, when it's come on, Mitchell's, unfortunately looks like he's injured, but he was sniping but we said at the start of this game, it doesn't matter who England pick if they play the same way that they are playing at the moment, which is I've never been as frustrated and angry as I was in Italy, watching Italy drop 4 back, like fully back, 4 of them all the way back, so much space, 2 forwards, and we had a whole back line, and they don't even look down there. They play a maximum 2 phases in their own 22, and they kick it away. Whereas you could put it onto, you look at Ireland, they've got numerous kickers, low. They use, obviously, Gibson Park. They obviously
Keenan can hoof it.
Keenan can hoof it. Obviously, Crowley. They have a variety. And rugby is about, you can still protect your own end and have variety. You've got to trust your players that they can make 2 passes, hit your 13, say Slade, who's got a great left foot.
Yeah.
Or you can swap someone around to have a right foot if you're playing left to right, whatever.
Yeah.
And we don't even look at it. And to the fact that Italy were just dropping that back and they had no defence up in the front line, you could easily just do a miss one and you can let your 13 make a decision. That's where we don't offload. Not sure.
Do you think as well offloads come with a team with confidence and play?
Yeah, there is, but it's a real one because I want to stay positive because I do think there are positives in there. I think the new defensive structure will, once they all buy in, it's a very hard structure to get in. Like
so we'll come on to that specifically.
So there are positives there, and we have to say, but Stuart Barnes wrote an article in the Times about how the win is the most important thing, the performance isn't. And I'm not sure I agree. England at the moment need performances rather than win. If you win playing limited rugby, then you're never getting better. Whereas if you go out and actually have a performance, you can always come back to trying to eke out the win at the end if you're in the fight. But I think England need to sort of figure out where they're going forward. At the moment, it's all about consolidation, it feels like, about structures, how we're exiting, what we're doing in these areas of the field. And then once they know those off by heart, he might then loosen the purse string.
How do you
Let me give you an analogy, sweetie.
Hit
It's a bit like Anthony Joshua, actually,
Yeah.
because when he was fighting early in his career, he was obviously there, raw power, that brutal ability. When Eddie, I'm not talking about, because obviously he lost the plot towards the end, but when Eddie came in, directness, power, played to what the team was about, and Joshua did use his skills. Then somebody basically said he wasn't as good as Tyson Fury, wasn't able to box, got into his head, started trying to box, lost that initial fight.
That just anger where he just goes and whacks people.
Yeah, yeah. And he didn't do that, and he should have finished him, and he lost against Ruiz. I just think with this team, it's easier said than done when you're not involved, and it's very easy to say when you're in the stand, you see everything unfold with no pressure, no intensity. It's a bit like politics. Do you want to make profound change, or do you just want to get voted back in again? It's a bit like playing for England. Do you want players to go out there and risk it all when they might not get selected again? It's the greatest honour you can ever play in a team that's not got that much confidence at the moment, even though they're winning. There are players in this squad that have the ability to do what they need to do and can move forward, and they're 100% not being coached, I don't believe, to play inside themselves. They're encouraged to play, but within a structure that relies on certain rules. And I think you've got a lot of young players in this side, and I think it's down to the individuals to seize a moment and to try to play. With Alex Mitchell darting, Tommy Freeman having a guy on the edge, Freddie Stewart, running it back 20 metres instead of putting an up and under up. George Ford, calling some plays which are going to bring people on. If Lawrence starts, trucking the ball up, trying to offload. I'd say to guys, listen, we're trying to get a move off a liner here, mate. Just stay on the outside because I'm going to try to bust through him and I'm trying to be an offload. That's a little bit of talk you have where you're on script, but you have the ability to add, and then that builds and builds and builds until you start seizing control yourself. And with Ben Earl, I guarantee.
Bear in mind, we don't see what's going on in training. You can look at them in training, and they are going through and they're doing those offloads, and it's just they're not doing them right now. But you've got to train that way.
Yeah.
because otherwise you're never going to do it. You don't get your timing right. You'll never get the time right of those offloads and the ones you see in the top 14 where they're through the legs, over the top.
Right.
Taking that risk. This is a game. It is a game about occasionally taking that risk, and you've got to then prepare that you know that you're when your defense is as good as it is, or it could be, or it will be. As you back that if you lose the ball, what does Sean Edwards always say? You just go get it back.
Yeah. And I wonder with Ben Elwood, is that number 8 pickup? Or was that the only option he had? Was he going to play? Did they just play, or did he just go, fuck it, I'm going to deal with this myself? Channel 1, I'm going to play. I don't know because it wasn't on the field, but it's those bits and pieces where you just got to risk it. I just think there are some tweaks we could definitely make that would make the team appear better.
In personnel or approach?
No, I also just don't think
the personnel is good at the moment.
Yeah.
So you would, Ollie Lawrence back in, Manu back in.
I thought Dingwall played all right. He played better against Wales, I thought. Defensively, putting a few more shots. I thought he was more involved in the game. I still think he could have more time before risking Manu.
So would you go Dingwall again this Saturday?
Yeah, I'd build some consistency.
I'd put Ollie Lawrence in just because watching him do what he does for Bath.
But there would be no one who'd argue if Ollie Lawrence came straight back in.
Not saying Fraser doesn't play well. I just mean they're different. It's
like
chalk
there
and
was
cheese.
a lot of emphasis on Lawrence pre-tournament.
Yeah, if you go back to pre-tournament, he was first one of the first name on the sheet. The way he's been playing for Bath. Now, does that mean?
Hasn't played a lot recently.
Yeah, does that mean because he hasn't? Does that automatically mean you get picked straight away if you haven't played that well? I would say that I don't think Dingwall's done anything wrong because again, the way that we're playing the game at the moment, it's very hard for him. It all becomes down to him individually beating someone or breaking a tackle to actually put his mark on it. Otherwise, he's just defensively and then organisationally doing stuff.
I don't think if you replace Steve Borth with Andy Farrell,
yes,
you didn't get a better result. I don't think if you.
So
I don't think
it is the system. It's the system and the setup.
I just think
the
I think
external pressure, the current history.
Yes, I think it's external pressure. I think it's the history. I think it's the news.
So how much therefore?
Here's a poll. Can we ask a poll actually for anyone who's listening to this? If England say they're not going to beat Ireland.
Well, hang on. Never say never.
They
got very close to last year.
On currently what you see,
if they did, that would really.
Yeah.
So if England came away,
home game.
If England came away 4 from 5 in this tournament, but played how they're playing right now, or they came away 2 from 5, but the next two games have been 42-40, 31-29, and they've gone down to the wire, but both teams playing amazing rugby. What would people want to see?
You answer the question.
2 out of 5 is bad though, but I would say because it would mean that they're going somewhere.
I think there's a belief that if you'd like to just put Marcus Smith in, that it'd be like Finn Russell, Harlem Globetrotters.
It won't be because they're still playing to a team structure.
Yeah,
that's
and I also think with Finn Russ. Remember, there was a couple of times in those games where he threw like some miracle shit and crossfield stuff that came up that was awful because it just didn't come off. But the point is that if you'd done that for England now, where we are now, everyone would be like, imagine what they say in the papers, what media would say, fucking aimless kick. It would go horribly wrong. So we can only make incremental steps because we're all trying to head in the right direction. But you can't suddenly just go and kick it off. I think there are some easy wins that I think.
So your question is a really good one actually, because I'm thinking about it and wondering what the answer is. Would you take 3-0 win, and therefore it's 3 from 3? And we have probably surpassed what people expected? Or would you take a 30-29 loss in which we have thrown the ball around and looked like the All Blacks at times? You can only pick one.
I would prefer to see a 31-29
Genuinely?
Yeah.
That would be the first time since 1896, when I think you played your first game, that we have lost 4 games consecutively to Scotland.
Yeah.
But also again...
But I actually think that Scotland are a better team right now.
But I said about
I know
the
they're ranked
rivalry.
below us, but
I said the rivalry and the passion. Just they were Ireland were the most difficult team to play. They ruined everything, like two Grand Slams for us and an awful experience. But I said just the emotional drive was always more for Scotland out of any other team. Bizarrely, because for example, they came down to Twickenham on that point. Genuinely thought they were going to win. We're talking about all the press, pushing people in tunnels and fucking fighting, doing all this kind of stuff, and we battered them.
That was the Jonathan Joseph one.
Yeah, little niggle and all that kind of stuff going on. But then I told you, it's difficult because when they lose Scotland, they hide behind the plucky bit. Haven't got a lot of rugby people. We haven't got enough numbers. We're underfunded. And then when they win, they're the first people over the top. They change the words to Flower of Scotland. We're all basically you can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is I don't mind. but we are not extended that same courtesy. So I think latterly that kind of real animosity between these teams has grown, and especially because Scotland are great now, very, very good players, and have beaten us consistently in the Calcutta Cup, and that they've got a real thing over us now. And as a team, I don't think you need any more of an emotional driver than to play Scotland, because they've got the boys to beat. They've got one of the best fly halves, if not the best fly half in the world attacking. They've got some incredible players across the board, but they've got a bit of a hoodoo on us. And I think for me, for an emotional driver, you don't need to say a lot, because this game has got it all.
2-3 relatively short questions.
2, 5,
One
7.
of which is that a few people have asked us to explicitly explain how England's defence has changed.
Every team has a certain set of line speed now, right? But ordinarily, you would have line speed where you would push forward. So, say the breakdowns on your right-hand side,
Yep.
you would number up in front of you, and you would push up and out across, right, to put pressure on people. And you would do it where your inside leads you up, and your outside wouldn't necessarily close.
Your outside never gets ahead of your inside guy.
Basically. What's happening now with Felix Jones is he's, from what I can see, again, I'm not in camp, but with the blitz defence that we use with Sean, that most people use, is you are all coming up in a line, and more often than not, if the outside can get ahead of the inside and you're spaced correctly, you're closing that space down. So you're basically going up and in, essentially.
Yep.
So if Finn Russell runs across and does a switch with somebody coming back the other way, as an outside, I would step in and fucking end him, and my inside man would pick up the slack. Where we went wrong against Italy was an outside man, Ollie Chesham, was running up and in, but across everyone, not watching the ball and watching the man. So every time he ran up, we just saw a runner, and all they did was pass the ball past him. You've got to go up in a line, but what you've got to do is have the balls to just fucking go, but smart go. So you basically number up quickly. So what it requires is for you to get off the floor. You've got to space really quickly. You've got to talk like fuck. You've got to number off in front of you. So if I'm on 10, I'm starting at 10's outside shoulder, because most 10s, as soon as they get the ball, they come across. So I would start just outside his shoulder. I go, my man, I'm on 10. As soon as that ball's passed, we're up. But I'm watching the ball the whole time. Tins is exactly with me outside. So as soon as anyone comes short.
So I just go, he's gone, I've got 10. I take the next man out.
To do a blitz defence like that, you've got to be fit as hell. You have to get off the floor, and you have to make sure you're spacing around the breakdown. So normally you see fat lads parked up, like you be on the side of a breakdown, I'm on the side of a breakdown. I have to get off the floor and space like fuck, push people out quickly, and then go every time. But you can't go if you've got numbers down, and that's where you've got to be smart. Because if I go, because I'm an idiot, and go, rah, and you guys have down on numbers, you shit yourself. I run up, they pick me off, and suddenly you're backpedaling on, and what do you do? And then you get holes everywhere. So what it requires you to do is spacing. It requires you to get energy. It requires you to get off the floor, and it requires you to get aggression. And it also requires you to
compete at ball.
Compete the ball, slow the ball down. That's why it's very hard with this bullshit tackle rule height bullshit, where you hit on the ball and you fucking hit the ball and you slide up and hit someone in the face. Who gives a shit? That's how you play rugby. Where are you supposed to hit? Because the point is, what would happen is, if I run up and 10 runs outside me just a little bit. Tins, and he gets into Tins' channel. Tins closes down. I sickle his leg. Tins smokes the ball, bounces to his feet, competes, and then everyone can get round us. That's what you've got to do. If you don't slow the ball down, you're stuffed. And then what happens if you don't slow the ball down? Everybody then scrambling, and then you get guys who go, I'm going to fix this, and like a Chesham just runs across 8 people to do a hero, and they pick it off and score in the corner.
Yeah. So let's say against Italy they got busted on the outside because he did dive in, and then against Wales they got picked up off the inside because they set too wide, and the inside guys the space on the inside wasn't right.
Right.
So that no one picked up that inside runner coming back.
And what happens is where it undoes you a little bit, where you have to make decisions, is where it holds you, is if the 9 picks up, like a Faf de Klerk, when everyone talks about it, if a 9 picks up and comes into your channel, and suddenly he's got an inside ball, he's got a late runner on his shoulder, he's got a forward runner coming, and you've got a 10 out the back, you're suddenly like that, having to make decisions. If you make big lads have to make decisions, that's where you cause problem. Ireland, when they're attacking, they're making people make decisions. So Ty Burns running to the line on an inside ball with his hands up, so you gravitate to someone who looks like they get the ball. It doesn't go to him. Suddenly they tip an outside man, and then the outside man puts it out the back, and you're suddenly asking people to make decisions when you're tired. It's very simple why people want to get you to an edge of a game, so you get an edge of a touchline, because then you suddenly got the whole space. It's easy to play. if you start getting in midfield rucks or you start having two sides, you're asking fat lads to make decisions. It's not that easy.
Don't always blame the fat lads.
That's also why France do so well, because Dupont, if you get, and that's why when Mitchell actually runs, it actually causes more problems, because every team is pressing not quite as hard as England are doing at the moment, because it is like South Africa on that tour where we went like 30 up and then they came back. Johnny was playing.
Oh, that was right. That was 2018, I think it was. 30 up in the second test and then scrambled.
So that's what they were doing.
In the third.
They were flying like that, but then they were making mistakes, and we were picking them off with balls over the top. So that's what England are going through, that learning process right now. Where
are you liking what you're seeing? briefly.
Well, when it works and when it gets into it,
but are they progressing at the right rate?
Yeah, but that's why you'll see.
So you can see a progression from week 1 to week 2.
That's why handling Dupont, if you can ever handle him, is the most important thing, because he's the bloke that can unlock any defence, because he's the threat. So basically, you had Jalibert. He's the threat. Jalibert's the threat. The forwards are a threat, inside and outside of him. And suddenly, defensively,
and if Payno picks up an inside line as well.
But then what you do is a lot of people chipping. But then that's how smart your 9 is. That's why Dupont's so good, because he then acts as another defender. And what happens is, if you've got a good 9, he'll see that Tins has flown up, shit himself, he'll join the line and he'll clear up the mess.
Yeah.
And has done a number of times, then smack you and turn the ball over. Or you'll see them kick all the time because you press them so much. But the problem is when someone like Finn Russell, he's got the ability to play, and if you don't get the read right, he's got the ability to go over the top. It's like that.
Or he does one of those round the back, and he passes into the space that you've got to rely on talk about attack, understanding each other's attack. The amount of times he's passed it behind someone's back as they press up, and then someone can run through.
But if you don't work hard in this, what this guy again, Felix, I imagine the demands he's making is you have to work hard and you have to work for each other, and you cannot, under any circumstance, try to solve shit yourself, and you have to be spot on with your tackles. And I don't envy him now, because back in the day you could just come in as a second man, hit them, hold them up, slow them down, go straight on the ball. And also where it goes down is if you get kids who don't know what they're doing, who want to compete at all costs, you suddenly get 3 people going to a breakdown competing where it's a lost cause. They get trapped in, and somewhere else you're fucked, and you go to blitz up, and if they're smart, they cut you off. It's a very precise science, but what it relies on is if you go up, run like fuck, you're hoping that the opposition will be static and will get caught unawares. But when it goes wrong, it can go badly wrong.
And we did see examples of that working very, very efficiently against Wales in the second.
But it brings people like Ellis in. It brings like China Cunningham South in. It brings Ethan Roots in.
Because it gives them.
It brings Marrow in. It suits us because we've got big athletic men that can do it. But you've got to be big, smart, athletic men, and it requires a certain level of trust. But it can be the most incredible emotional driver that can lead a team. Because genuinely, if you're not that good with a ball in hand, but you kick fuck out of people and turn it over, you give yourself half a chance. And if you practice, like I imagine they would be, turnovers from attack, that's when your Marcus Smiths come into play. That's when Tommy Freeman looks great, because you're suddenly being able to play. And sometimes England, I would be satisfied if England were amazing in defence, turn loads of ball over, were shit in attack, but fucking great in counter-attack from the turnovers, because that's how you can still win. And that's how I think this team could evolve.
For a bit, wasn't
that's
it?
what I mean.
He went over that padded attack, but definitely very good on the counter-attack. Can I ask you a really odd question?
Yes.
When you are numbering up at international level, and it is moving at 100 miles an hour, and you're numbering up, are you going, I've got third man? Are you going, I've got the 12? Or are you going, I've got Bundy?
You're counting numbers.
Yeah. But do you say, I've got Bundy Aki, and you've got Henshaw, and you've got Matt Hansen?
Yes.
Or are you just trying to work out that's my man?
I'd be like, I've got fucking section, I've got section.
So you would use names?
Yeah, if I knew.
But that's what I mean.
I've got player X, I've got academy player B.
But I'm genuinely interested. You're using names rather than positions, rather than the third man.
I would generally use 3. I'd go,
so you go 1, 2, 3.
I'd be like 1, 2, 3. But if I got 1, 2, 3, I've got 3.
You know everyone's name.
But this is my genuine question: is whether you would call names. So you can see faces at 100 miles an hour in the pouring rain.
I would used to go 1, 2, 3, and then if you've got time to then name them off, then you name them off.
Most terrifying,
because then you go into them and you say, so they know.
If you're playing club rugby, I've got bin juice 4. You've got bin juice 5. What are you doing with bin juice 6?
I don't even know his name.
You would number because you talk to each other, and you'd be like, you'll see people push each other, like go. And you see, because what happens is, it's very easy. You'll watch forwards. It's very easy, so if they get off on that side of the field, to walk into number 1 position and push everyone out. The smart play is run round 2, get to 3, push everyone out and run. It's that look, you'll see the players that are prepared to work to get up to bounce back into position that care versus the ones who are fucked, stumble
But
into
do you
position.
want fat lads defending at the third man?
Yeah, but normally what you normally don't want to do is then change the guys who have 1 and 2 too many times because that's where if you're 9 runs, it causes you loads of problems.
And
if
Which
they
is
assault and they
is
know-
that what we saw for the Alex Mann try?
Yeah, it was just too big a
Wales.
gap
Yeah.
Too
between
big a
2
gap.
and 3.
Yeah.
Will Stewart.
But
I
you
think,
do
was-
call them out. But the most terrified I've ever been was when I was playing against Toulon. Sonny Bill was playing. I was in attack, and normally you'll see good players. Or you talk about like Finn Russell's head on a swivel, George Ford's swivel, Owen Farrell, always looking.
Yeah.
Forwards can get quite one-dimensional, and I was not the most dimensional player in the world. But you need to look all the time. I saw Sonny Bill Williams was in front of me, and then he disappeared out of my vision. And basically, I knew that he'd gone out. I was obviously the prominent carrier and was going to come straight out my blind spot. So as soon as I turned and got the ball, I was going to get absolutely folded in half. And it was really creepy because you have to look here. And he just went like that.
Like a shark.
It was like a shark, basically. And so there's a certain level of intimidation. If you call people out and call them, they can put pressure on it, drop the ball, get into them. And so you would sort of name them. But yeah, most of the time, if you're blowing international, you've got ball in play of 3 minutes, you've done multiple rucks, you've competed, you're shouting, I'm 1, I'm 2, I'm 3, I'm 4. And then once you're set, you're like, line speed, whatever you're shouting. Like we had lightning was a call, lightning. I've got him, I've got him. Boom, go up, reset, go again, reset. And that's how you do it.
Okay. 2 quick questions. These aren't very quick, actually, after all. Where is this Scotland side right now?
I think this team are in danger of us always describing it as a good team and flattering to deceive. Truthfully, with Scotland is. They're running out of chances under Gregor Townsend to do what they should do, but on paper they do. Truthfully.
Well,
that's the thing. If you
again, we came into this tournament saying, is this their year? And after round 2...
But that's what I mean.
It's
the
not
point
their
is they're
year.
running out of chances because the personnel aren't going to change that much. How many times, like in the World Cup, I thought we could give South Africa a good run for money? They didn't. How many times we thought they were going to win the Six Nations push? They didn't. They've won some scalps, but actually, they still have flat to deceive.
They win this weekend, they don't care.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, but I think they would fall into the other category where they're in a place where they could win a 3-0 and they'd be very happy. Because I think they're in a better place than where we are now in terms of how good they can play when it all comes together.
Yeah.
But that's where I think it's different that they can take those wins and just go, right, we'll move on. Because they know where they're going to play. They know what they can do. You've seen it in the first game. You've seen it in bits of it. So they'll go, okay, we can get better. It won't really fluster them.
I just think they've got to chalk something off at some point.
Okay.
Because otherwise,
They've
they're a team that's
chalked off
won
the Calcutta Cup a few times.
Yeah, but that's
late.
fine. But does that what whole campaign's built on?
But it would be funny.
Well, I'm asking the questions.
This week, if England beat them, then the media pressure on them will swing.
Yeah. I just don't know how many, because with the talent they've got and the players they've got and the personnel they've got and how many times they're flattered to deceive, how many more times can you say? Because I don't know where you eke out more progression from that lot. But I still think they're a very, very, very good side.
Last question then on the Calcutta Cup. If you think of the history between England and Scotland relative to England, Ireland, England, Wales in particular, you think 1990 in recent memory, you think Eddie Jones getting pushed around on a train station, you think the tunnel bust up, I think it was 2018, was it? 2000 and your Grand Slam being wrecked, even the fact that Proud Edward's Army bastards sent home to think again. Is this the worst one to lose as an Englishman? You've had some bad days at the Principality, as it now is, and some Grand Slams that have disappeared in Dublin. But is Scotland the worst?
Scotland was the worst because they never won.
Back in your day.
So 2000, it was the only time I've ever gone home on a night out because there were so many pricks. Just laughing.
And is that because
laughing?
Well, that was the question I was going to say.
Not doing it in the way that the Irish do or the Welsh do. Welsh give you a bit of shit, but it's quite funny.
I mean, at least the Irish give you that fake.
The Scottish actually mean it.
Yeah, the Irish give you that fake humility, where they're basically saying you the shit.
You did grand.
Oh, you did well. You did well.
Give
Next time, let's have a Guinness, right? At least it's a bit. At least you see through it. In Scotland, I got pinned in a corner of a bar, that hotel bar, and honestly, I honestly went, I'm very sorry, but can you just fuck off? And I walked off. I just couldn't. It was so boring. Oh, how plucky we are in this. We haven't got big, and you've got so many, more players and funding. And I was just like, mate, just leave me. Like, what wrong person to talk about? I don't care. You guys absolutely beat us up today. Hamish Watson was utterly fantastic. I was in the stands. I had nothing to do with it. Scotland were amazing. They won the game. Well done. I don't care. Leave me alone. And that was the upshot of it. So they can be a bit spicier because for so long they didn't do it. Now they have. it's fine. I just mean it was the hardest thing to see because I one particular incident where they sung that song, Change King Over His Arm, pissed up, shirts off. If I'd done that, it would have been front page of Mirror, and I'd been
Again,
English bastard, which I am all of those things, but just wouldn't have, made a video of that.
It's going to be a
I've
good
yet to be caught.
That's true. There's plenty of footage available
It's absolutely
on
available.
our servers at Good Bad Rugby. It's going to be a good one. There's so many subplots to it. There are high stakes up for grabs. It is the Calcutta Cup, no less.
It will be interesting how it dictates whoever loses this future going forward.
Yeah, it's a massive result. I know we're looking for performance for both, but it's a massive result for both.
Yes, but is it in Scotland? It's that stadium.
But Scotland lose, big questions. England lose. It sort of hasn't quite materialised in the way that we're
rebuilding.
Ireland, Wales. Are Ireland going to have any problems with Wales this weekend?
No.
None at all? No.
No, I think Ireland are unbelievable.
Are
Unbelievable.
Ireland jigging to the Grand Slam this year?
They are just so in their groove. They are so in sync as a unit. How they move, everyone around Jack Crowley has sort of stepped up and taken the pressure on him and allow him just allow him to do his thing, which he did exceptionally well against Italy. They're just a well-oiled machine that can beat you in numerous different ways. They can play out wide, and they've got the players that can break tackles. Bundy Aki just breaks tackles for fun, and then they offload, and they offload well.
Why are Ireland so good at maximising their talent in an international jersey? If you look at Bundy Aki, who came to Ireland from the Chiefs, where he was a solid player, but probably back up to Sonny Bill, he's gone into Connacht and has become arguably one of the best 12s in the game. Mac Hansen, not getting a game in Australia, gone into Connacht, is one of the form players.
James Lowe, don't tell you going to say James Lowe.
I was going to say, I actually was going to throw in the comparison of CJ Stander, who won 50, 60 caps for Ireland, was a Munster legend, went on a Lions tour, but was a project player who came in from South Africa. You put him up against someone like Nathan Hughes, who you've obviously played with, etc. But, Nathan Hughes has come in at a similar time to CJ Stander. CJ Stander won 60 caps. Nathan Hughes had 5 and wasn't seen again. Why are Ireland so much better at getting the talent in their ranks to perform at a high level on the international stage?
Ultimately, and the fact that there are only 4 provinces to pick from, and the fact they guard their players. They're all, you can argue central contract or whatever. They get rested. So every time they go into an international match, they are fresh as a daisy and ready to go. And an unbelievable nick. And it allows them to perform at the best. And what myself and Hask have championed about why less games is always better. Because you actually get players who are at the best of their ability to play on the greatest stage, biggest stage, in the best way they can know how. And then if you add in the fact that a majority are from one team, it makes it very easy to fit into that system when you know what to do. That's the
simple
number.
Good
Remember,
answer.
this goes in cycles. Do you know what I mean? Like, Ireland haven't got past the quarter-final of a World Cup. Ever. We're always looking for the magic bullet. Teams have rises and falls, and it's the team that consistently keep winning at all times. The All Blacks went through a period where they're the most winningest side of all time. You never would have said they were going to lose 5 on the bounce or whatever they did. They went through a rebuilding phase, and then they ultimately still got to a World Cup final after they were written off and people doubted them. They still got through. Like, what we believe and what is accurate and what actually is the truth is very different. A lot of it's hyperbole and kind of just making things up. I'd say on paper exactly what Tins says. If you've got a joined-up system that actually cares about the national team, if you've got players that aren't running to the ground, if you've got them spending a lot of time together within one team and playing within one system that ultimately helps the national team, then I'd say, when you've got 10 disparate teams that aren't interested or self-interested, that play a ridiculous number of games, and you're sort of dragged in, you don't get a lot of rest period, you're not really looked after, don't get really much of an off-season, I'd say, what do you expect? But, England have won Grand Slams, England have won a couple of Six Nations, we won a World Cup 2003, we've done some bits. So I just think it's very cyclical. The only team that can claim to have actually nailed it would be South Africa and New Zealand. And then remember, South Africa had that phase before Razzie came in, when they were awful. Absolute joke, and then they've now come kept together a winning format. Is it consistency in players? Well, we've got Lacanio Am, who came in, no one had ever heard of him. Came in, was like the best centre in the world before he got injured. There's always people around the corner, but it's how you harness them and how you use them. And I think it comes into an environment where England have just been under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, have flattered to deceive, and I think Ireland are in a purple patch where everything's going their way, and it's against all odds, they've consistently come back after losing their talismanic player and found a player with equal ability. France, on the other hand, haven't capitalised on that.
It's an interesting one, like with Ireland, is because obviously it took the 29. It must have taken the 2019 World Cup for them to realise and go, actually, we are quite limited. Might have said this before.
Careful.
Hail my Irish friends. And then, I agree. Farrell came in with Catty and I was so hopeful that it'd go earlier, but it didn't. They sort of built on those foundations, and then they've expanded it out, and now they're playing arguably the best, most complete rugby out of any nation out there. France play a little bit looser, which is amazing sometimes, but can sometimes become unstuck.
If you look
And I think are England in that sort of point now where I really like the team that we have, and sorry to keep going back to it, but it's about where does your ambition stop, and does that then just become around the pressure that newspapers, or can you back yourself to go, right, lads, we've got to go and express ourselves, because if you're having fun,
that is a very good point. You cannot build a game plan based on the potential backlash from the newspaper.
Yeah, but also just like you got to think of the sport. Remember 2007, France getting knocked out, New Zealand getting knocked out to France.
Yeah.
They had to completely rebuild the system. Came with that slogan, good men make good All Blacks. They had to fire a load of people. I think Steve Walsh, the San Francisco 49ers. They won. 3 Super Bowls out of 4 Super Bowls or whatever it was, out of 5 tries. But and the first year he took over, he equalled the losing record of the guy that got fired before him.
Yeah.
It's the fine margins between being successful and not. And sometimes it can just be the recipe of winning some consecutive games, the introduction of a new coach, harnessing a game plan, or utilising a couple of players that spark a return. And I think England aren't far off moving that forward. And I think, Ireland are in an amazing patch at the moment. France, however, we said were the best thing since sliced bread. We tipped them for the tournament. They look like, they're not doing particularly well, are they?
Shows how good Pond might be.
Just to wrap up the game at Aviva, Wales have lost 9 of their last 10 games in the Six Nations. Ireland have won 19 of their last 20. It would be very, very Gatland.
Yes,
is all I will say to finish that one off. But that's the Saturday afternoon game.
That Welsh team isn't a bad team.
No,
they're 2 losses with a combined 3 points.
There's a lot of threats in there.
Yeah,
and if everything went their way, they can score points. But just think that Ireland team has got everything you want. It can play, and if it's struggling and it's making mistakes or making errors, it can adjust and play a tighter game.
Yeah.
It can adjust to play a wider game. I just think it's got as a Swiss Army knife. It's just got more implements.
And it's got more experience to be able to turn the dial into a different way. When Wales, you've got to ask how many people have been there.
But there are so many good players that I like in that Welsh team.
France, Italy, we've said Wales aren't going to get close to Ireland. Italy aren't going to get close to France, are they?
I mean, I wouldn't have thought so, but actually, to be fair, they've got the ability to do it.
I wouldn't say in France.
No. Just a quick line to say all the very best to Tommy Allen.
Yeah.
And Gonzalo Casado, the Italian head coach, has put a quote out. So Tommaso is an excellent professional and, even more importantly, a person of unquestionable value. Men, even poor athletes, are at the centre of our evaluations, and this is why, after having discussed with Tommaso and having fully understood his needs, we decided together with him for an additional period of rest. Get well, Tommy. Hope to see you back out there before too long. What that does do is open the opportunity for Lewis Liner to come in. What a story that is. Born in Italy, his mother is Italian. His father obviously is the legend Michael. We've had both of them on the show actually in past guises. I'm two lovely men actually. He's previously been involved in an England training squad, but is in the Italian squad this weekend. Get him in, see what he can do.
Well, we know what he can do. We've seen it. So yeah, I've got no issues with that. I mean,
what it does lead on to is the question around England A, who are playing Portugal on Sunday afternoon.
The landlord and Don Waldock as coaches.
Yeah, things have turned around for the landlord.
Yes, we sent a bottle of black eye. We sent a bottle of black eye to the landlord, and then Gloucester won a game.
And they're in the Premiership Cup final.
You're welcome, George.
And on Gloucester. That note, our Continental Tires question of the week this week is from Cam Swan 21, who has asked the question, and it's relevant to Gloucester being in the Premiership Cup final. Should Zach Mercer look at qualifying for Scotland rather than hoping to get an England cap? Massively underrated and underappreciated. He played for Scotland under-16s and I think would add a great value to that depth of squad. Is his time done with England now? He had quite a lot to say about it.
Yes.
He's done. You look at Barbary, Fisilau, Jack Clement at Gloucester, all selected ahead of him, and that's in the A squad before you then go up
He still is not in the A squad
No, he's
either.
not in the. Not
Oh
in
my
the
God,
England
yeah.
A.
I'd literally call up the phone director and go, Mum, did you have any holidays to
Well, he
wherever
knows
it was?"
he
So
was
he's
born
played,
in
he
Scotland.
played Scotland 16s.
Yeah.
Well, get on the blower immediately.
Yeah.
Because I feel sorry because whoever told him to come back and left Montpellier when he was absolutely carving up, I know I'd be like livid. I was sold absolute turkey. I imagine I was on good cash, but he was ripping up trees. He built. I remember he built 125 defenders playing for Montpellier, and the next nearest person had been like 75. It was mental.
Why has he not been looked at for England?
Look, he's obviously a talent, but something's awry. So you've got to do what's best for you. And if he feels that that's going and playing for Scotland, then go play for Scotland. But
He was bloody good.
If he's a proud Englishman, he might.
semi-final.
Well, if he's a proud Englishman, he wouldn't play for Scotland 16s probably. But
If he's a mercenary, like I'd be, he does whatever it takes.
yeah,
That's the
I
mercenary.
don't know. I just think he's such a good player that I'd like to see him on the international scene.
I
if he
think he'd do
could.
great for Scotland, and I'd be straight on the blower.
Right.
Hello, all right, lads. Sweet Zach Mercer here.
Zach McMercer.
I like to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Would
think-
fit in with a few of the team.
Yeah.
Fit with a few of the team.
I love my friend
Van
Dave. Played for
der
South Africa.
Swerve and-
I love South Africa. I mean Scotland. Sorry, I get confused.
Right. Hopefully that answered your question. Thank you for the Continental Tires question of the week. Zach Mercer for Scotland. We shall see. Time for our Heycar Six Nations selector, which I know you've been loving. It's been quite a painful experience, I think, for not only us on the sofa, but also for the editors trying to get this to air. But this is where we delve into the past and try and pick the greatest players to have played in the Six Nations. And this week, I think we're in for a shorty. Heycar only have the best quality check used vehicles, and you can buy directly online or in person through their trusted retailers. They even have vehicles that you can't find or buy anywhere else. Like our relationship with Heycar, this game is all about great partnerships, so our picks have to be made in units. And this week we are picking the back row, James,
you
which
say
brings
that,
you
Alex.
into play. There is one final twist. Our team must represent all six Six Nations sides. There are 4 more positional units left to fill. Our halfbacks are Dupont and Untermack, and the centres are Darcy and O'Driscoll, which means we can't pick from France or Ireland today. So that means no Betson, Mania or Harry 2 Grand Slams 02-04, and no Ferris, Wallace, Heaslip in 2009, or Omani, Van der Fleer or Doris in 2023. Any one of those back rowers would have been a very good
Yes.
selection. James, do you want to even go through the contenders, or you just want to put in your favourite trio of all time?
I think we've got to go in.
The Holy
yeah.
Trinity.
It's a holy trinity, right?
Yeah.
Rob Shaw, Haskell, Vunipola. Grand Slam 2016, whitewash, never been done 2017.
Lovely.
He won World Cup, sure. Who cares? Going on
This
about
is
it.
about Six Nations.
This is about
James.
Six Nations. I've done it numerous times and had 2 more Grand Slam opportunities, which we created, which we should have won. So
Haskell, Rob Shaw, Billy V it is.
yeah,
Unless, Michael, you'd like to just look at the other runners and riders just for the form book. Hillback Delalio, 3 titles, including the
Well,
3
I
Grand
suppose.
Slam. 12 starts
12.
together, 11 wins.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
not
good,
bad.
isn't it?
Lydiate, Warburton, Falatau, 2012 Grand Slam, 2013 Championship. And if you want the other runners and riders,
I actually quite
Alessand-
like the Italian option.
Alessandro Zanni, Mauro Bergamasco and Sergio Parise. 119 caps, 106 caps, and also plays scrum half, and 142 caps as far as Parise is
that is a
concerned.
lot of caps.
Yeah.
Did Zanni really get 100 and something caps?
119.
119.
Slightly falls down
Jesus.
in the fact that they only started 7 times together in the Six Nations.
Oh,
But they
winning
won
just
twice, which is, I think, the only two
Games they've ever won.
Exactly.
the only 2 games
Celebrate
that
and carry them hard.
records.
And
Yeah.
Scotland, you could have Jason White, Ali Hogg, and Simon Taylor.
Jason
I
White
played
was
against,
such a good
I played
tackler.
against Simon
Oh
Taylor.
my
He's
God.
hard hitting.
He
that
was
one.
such. He just
Yeah.
smoked people. I loved it.
Simon Taylor was a hell of a player as well, wasn't
He
he?
was absolutely skilled. I played with him in Stade Francais, actually. Lovely man.
Go on then. You've gone Haskell, Robshaw, Billy V.
Yeah. But I think, do you know what? Putting my ego, which is substantial to one
Substantial.
side,
Barely fits in the
barely
room.
fits
Are you
in.
going to
There's a
fangirl? You're going to
scraping noise.
fangirl your selection into place.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think it's got to be Hillback Delalio, just because they won a World Cup and they were great.
Yeah, but this is about the Six Nations, James.
well,
But
they won Six Nations.
11
you
wins
know,
from 12 starts ain't
11 wins
bad.
from 12 starts.
11 wins from 12
And they
starts.
each
It's
one was
quite
the
impressive.
most unsung, oversung hero of all time, Richard
Yeah.
Hill.
Unsung, oversung.
One was the
Right,
littlest
good
man ever to play and was an absolute pit bull. And Lawrence Delalio was an amazing number 8 who walked the walk, talked the talk, and was great for social afterwards. Bar up, bring your tools.
right.
There you go.
Hillback Delalo go in. It's quite a team, this. We've got Hillback Delalo as our back row, Dupont and Untermack as our half-backs, and Darcy and O'Driscoll.
We're
Front row,
halfway.
second row,
We're halfway.
and back three to come
Yeah.
from Scotland, Italy and Wales. Selecting a car from Heycar is a much easier process than we've just been through, although I think we've done better this week than we have in previous weeks. Buy your next car the feel-good way with Heycar. Details of the live rugby this weekend. Ireland-Wales 2:15 ITV and RTE on Saturday. Scotland-England 4:45 BBC and Virgin Media in Ireland. And on Sunday afternoon, it's France against Italy from 3 p.m. ITV and RTE if you're in Ireland. Should we do a quick prediction? Ireland-Wales, who and by how many?
Yeah, Ireland going to win by 15 points.
Just checking the stats, yeah?
I am checking stats actually.
Not train times.
Well, actually,
ordering
no,
a car.
I'm actually checking the bookies.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. To give you what the bookies say, and then I'll go for that. But I would say Ireland by 21.
Oh, what do you think, Alan?
Who can predict what?
Well, Jake, I think it'll be
can you predict
Ireland
what the bookies will
by
tell you?
14.
I'm on 14.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think you're Ireland 15.
What do you
for
think the
England.
bookies are going to say?
By 12.
Oh, I could be a bookie.
What do you say?
Ireland minus 22.
Really?
Well,
I went Ireland by 14.
Yeah, and I said
15,
Ireland by
22.
15.
Scotland, England.
If I go first, I think Scotland by 6.
Your mother-in-law's going to bloody love you.
Have you got a bet with the mother-in-law?
No.
Do you bet the Duchy of somewhere or something like that? I bet 20,000 acres. They'll, no. Oh, I'll give a whole horse.
Where's your
if you
house
win.
again?
Well, that's just only a high and a half at the moment. I'm going to say England by 5.
I'm going a 9-all draw. I'm
Oh,
not. I think,
imagine that.
and
Absolute
this is blind
pish that
faith,
would be.
I think England by 10. I think there's a statement
My
performance coming.
heart is picking England, but my issue is I just think there's a couple of with the new defensive system. I think there's a couple of chances where they could get breached, and I think they'll score. If they
I
get
think
breached.
it could lead to opportunities
But
as
having
well. Then,
said
Michael.
that,
They could- well, no, they
Scotland
could.
flat to deceive against South
Well,
Africa's
no,
bits defence when we
you're
thought
right.
they were going to pick
You're
it up,
right.
and we all
But-
said the
but
same
theirs
cliche.
Theirs is exceptionally good because they've been running it for 5
And
years.
you were like drinking rose, and you're like, oh, they're going to fucking cut us
That's when he ate
apart.
the
Like,
table after.
Yeah,
If you want to know what the bookies say Scotland by 4.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm going
That's when we
against
ate
the
that
bookies.
entire flagon of ham and cheese. Remember?
I do. Still working it off. France, Italy, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. France by 29.
Okay.
Italy by 6.
France by 32.
France by 36. Okay, you and I are on the same thing.
32. Did you say 32?
I said 29, but
Yeah.
within a score.
Bookies say 28.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
could be
Interesting.
If you asked me on a Wednesday, I'd say yes. Sorry,
Wakey back in the room.
Yeah,
What was
I
that?
I was one from Little Britain.
Oh, okay.
Take your magic money pill.
Are you going with Italy by 6?
Yeah, I am going by
okay,
Italy by
okay,
6,
lovely.
just to throw the cat amongst.
This
the
is what
pillow.
happens, you see. We record for an hour, 55 minutes. He's really in it, and
Yeah.
then just the concentration
No, I
goes. The
believe
sugar
it's-
low
he can do it.
comes.
But this is where if
Parking
we were doing,
begins
if
to
we
run
were,
Just
out.
for the piss.
if
as
we were
well.
doing one of those games, you'd probably end up winning. So he just gets it right. He goes, "I told you."
Yeah, I told you. Listen to me, fools. Yeah.
Last but not least, our black eye of the week. And we always like to throw out a little riding of the storms and celebrating of the sunshine. This week, in fact, every week, a bottle goes to someone who is celebrate for alternative reasons within and around the game of rugby union, or perhaps someone who might need a pick-me-up. And this week, we're going to send some gin to Redruth RFC, who are running an auction to raise money for 6-year-old Riley. The auction is for Riley, the black eye isn't. But Riley, who is getting a lot of love from the three of us, has recently been diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a terrible disease, and I'm sure many within the rugby fraternity will already know about it because of Join Jack. The rugby club are getting around the family and arranging an event on May the 5th to help support Riley and Action Duchenne. If you are down in the area, please do go and support. There's going to be a Southwest 15 against the Lakes 15 match, featuring ex-Premiership and international players. We really hope it's a hugely successful day, not only for Riley, but for Redruth RFC as well, and for everybody who is getting involved in that day. And we shall send some black eye down to be enjoyed by those on the touchline. So go well. If you're in the area, get involved. If you're a business in the area and you'd like to support, please do look it up online. And let's raise as much money as we can for Riley. And for those of you who don't know, Black Eye Gin is all about trying to raise money for those within the game. We've done a little bit already for Gary Street, whose recovery continues. And if you fancy a bottle to watch the Six Nations with over the next few weeks, it's available from Amazon, Selected Sainsbury's and Master of Malt. It has botanicals from every major rugby playing nation in it. And as we said, £1.50 of every bottle sold goes into the Black Eye Rugby Fund, which is aiming to raise £1 million a year to help with the areas of risk research and recovery within the game of rugby union.
We might have to send a bottle to Alex Mitchell as well.
Let's send a bottle to Alex Mitchell. And to Thomas Allen. Yeah. We'll do all of that. That is it for this week. We've been The Good, the Bad and the Rugby with our friends at Continental Tires. Stats and facts provided by Oval Insights. We're a folding pocket production. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. Enjoy round 3 of the Guinness Six Nations. And we'll be back next week for a debrief. Bye for now.
Bye.